Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting co-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good evening and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So, before I get into this, I want to address something that happened in the movie theater, because it's one of those things that, I've never seen this happen before. So, I just saw The Roses, which is the remake, or the readaptation of The War of the Roses, the book, presumably about a similar topic. I've never read the book or saw the first iteration of the movie. Point is, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this movie, and there's someone. It's a small theater. It's like, for some reason they played this in Dolby, and I wasn't gonna wait another hour for the Dolby screening. So I just saw it in your standard theater, but what ended up happening is the Dolby theater holds a lot more people, and this one holds, less. It was a small theater, 4 rows. So I'm sitting back row, same as I always do. Someone sits in the front row, and he is loudly laughing, but not at the jokes. This is a dark comedy, this movie. And he's laughing not at the jokes, but at weird things. I'm like, oh, that's not great. And he's loudly talking. So, and it's one of those things where it's the movie's, when I got to the theater, it's one of those screenings that we'll have every once in a while that I'll go to where it's I bring the average age down to about 75. So I figured that's what this is. This is a guy who's in his 80s, who goes to 2 movies a year, and he's oh, they remade this movie that I've heard of, or I read the book when I was, much, much younger, and, now I'm going to, go and see this. And I figured that's what that was. It's just one of these people that's, doing that. And then we're leaving. And this guy's by himself. And I'm not disparaging people who go to movies by themselves. I would say 99 out of 100 times that I go, I'm by myself. But this guy's there by himself. So he was loudly talking to no one the entire way through this movie. Loudly having a conversation with no one. Which was just kind of bizarre, and not a conversation where it's you're expecting to hear someone talk back, but he's the person who's loudly speculating about what's going to happen next in the movie, which annoys me to begin with. But when you're doing it for yourself, that's entirely different. So this guy, he had the fucking time of his life at this movie. But then you said you hated it when he was talking to anyone that would listen on the way out of the theater. So all of that said, this is a movie that I would say I feel the most conflicted about of any movie I've seen in quite some time. I enjoy the general idea of the movie, and I enjoy the conceit. I think the comedic moments land. I think, and you would think after seeing him in Doctor Who for so long, I would know how to pronounce his name by now, but I don't know how to pronounce his name. And Cutie Gatwa, I think is how you pronounce it. He played the Doctor most recently. I enjoyed him. His small role in this movie is fantastic, and I think he does a great job. The same goes for the principal cast is great, but also Andy Samberg is good in his small role. Allison Janney's great in her small. Kate McKinnon kind of steals the show whenever she's on screen. But what I end up with in this movie is it's a dark comedy, but I think the wider what's the word I'm looking for here? The wider plot of the movie. The guy in front of me had the motorcycle, so you're gonna hear that. The country music he's blasting, because you have a lot of people out here like that who think that, like, oh yeah, we're country. We live, an hour out from the largest city, one of the largest cities in the country. But no. This is country out here. Fuck off. But I think the issue is, like, the underlying drama, I think, really works for this movie. But I think that it probably should have chosen a lane, because it oscillates back and forth. It doesn't quite get that tonal whiplash that we talk about with other movies, but you have the situation where it's like you completely understand both sides of this equation. You completely get why the two of them drift apart. Everything that happens kind of makes sense. You get the underlying resentments that Benedict Cumberbatch feels. All of it makes sense and is in line for what you would expect from that kind of character. And especially considering that, like, he, his career is on the down. It's kind of like A Star is Born. Like, his career is on the downswing, hers is on the upswing, and hers is on the upswing because of him. And it's like he buys her the restaurant as a gift because he's celebrating how well he's doing. So it's like, hey, look, we're gonna buy you this restaurant so that way you can go out and you don't have to just be, this. And then his career hits the skids when the museum he's building is destroyed in a storm. And it's just, you understand totally why the two of them have these underlying resentments, and it's less. And I think that all works. The comedy aspects work too, but it feels like they probably should have been two separate movies. Like, I would have been content with either this being a straight comedy, or it being close to a Marriage Story. And I think that it is kind of, I'm saying I think a lot, and I've noticed I've been doing that recently. The juxtaposition of the two doesn't always work, which is probably the biggest problem in this movie. Like, if you're gonna do this, you need to have it where I think the stakes don't quite feel as high, because that's where you get to the end and things start to feel a lot more real, which is kind of a problem. Like, when we get to the third act, and it's not even just the gunshots or anything like that, because that's all over the trailer. It's like the gunplay in the house. I'm talking the moment where, we're leading up to that, and she has this allergy to raspberries, and he feeds her something that has raspberries in it to get her to sign away the rights to the house. And it's just like, this feels a lot bigger now. Like, you can play the gunplay for laughs, but the allergy attack is the thing where I'm like, this is too real for this. It kind of feels like the end of Lisa Frankenstein, where when you get to the end of Lisa Frankenstein, the movie works up until that point because everything is in the abstract. There are people who are dying, but we're not really dealing with deaths in any meaningful way. It's not designed to be that kind of movie. And then you get to, the third act, where you get the break, where it's like the zombie needs a cock, so he kills the guy to steal the cock, and he does it in front of the adopted sister, and the adopted sister has the visceral reaction to the whole situation. And that is the moment where the movie breaks. You're like, oh, now this feels a lot more real. And that's that same thing that happens here. Like, he's like, oh, I wouldn't have let you die. It's like, yeah, but this whole thing's a lot more deranged and a lot more grounded in reality in a way that, like, you can play off the gunplay as, like, it's extravagant, especially when you juxtapose that with, like, oh, he, like, locking her in a room with polka music playing. Like, it's other silly things like that. It kind of feels that. It's a break from that into, you know, this very real moment. And that kind of harms the third act a little bit. And I think, too, the ending of the two of them dying is unneeded. It doesn't really add anything. Like, the idea that, like, both of the, like, it's just kind of not what's I'm looking for here? It's not the strongest ending. Because I think that for what this movie is about, these two people who have these differences and have built up these issues with each other, and they feel trapped in this marriage. For them to have the realization that, like, oh yeah, we can still be together. It's just the issue is that we're not communicating right. And one of the things the movie does very well is you get the moments of them, you know, and what their relationship is. Like, in the trailer, there's the moment where it's like they're in the, you know, they're in the family therapist, and she's like, oh, you guys can't reconcile your problem. Like, are you allowed to say that? Like, the full version of that scene is fantastic. Because it's just this very, you know, it's this thing where it's like the two of them are just used to attack each other, and they both find this great joy in what they're doing. And it's like, oh, well, that's their relationship. It's not healthy, but, like, you see that the two of them are, and the entire way through you get this sense that, like, the two of them have that going back and forth. And therein lies kind of, like, why ending the movie on this note where now they both have to die feels wrong. Especially considering they do reconcile, and it's like, yeah, well, the issue is that we're not communicating, and now we're going to learn to communicate, and all of that. Now, granted, it's like maybe that is the idealized version of the ending, is the idea that, like, oh yeah, we will, but the idea that the two of them dying in a fiery explosion feels like a weird way to end the movie. I don't know if the original movie ends out. I've never seen the original movie again. Never read the book. Don't know if the original does the same, but it just feels kind of off. But it's enjoyable. It's definitely an enjoyable movie to watch. It's, you know, the comedic moments do really land, and I think the darker moments may feel a little, not forced, but out of place. But it is worth a watch. This is a movie that I would say is a good wait for streaming movie. I would say this is not something that you have to jump out and see immediately. I think all the performances are fantastic. I certainly wouldn't spend the extra money to see this in a premium format. That would almost certainly be a waste. There really isn't anything in this movie that lends itself to seeing it in, like, a, not 4DX. I would be amazed if this movie had a 4DX cut, but there's nothing in this that, like, even Dolby is, I would say, excessive for what this movie is. Because I like watching, there's nothing here where I'm like, oh, I need to see this with better speakers or a higher quality video or seats that vibrate slightly. Like, there was nothing like that in this movie, so I don't know. It's enjoyable enough, I would say. This is a 4 out of 5. I think that one scene removed would have made it a 5 out of 5. And I think if they had removed that one scene of him giving her the dessert with the raspberry, I feel like that would have been it. And then, like, that's the other thing, is that it's like, as you're getting to the end, like, I guess the death kind of had to happen, because as you get to the end, and it's like the idea of, like, how are we going to handle these broader issues, it's like, he got one of her restaurants shut down because, like, the implication, he doesn't outright say it, but, like, he shot in the food. Like, it's not outright said. It's like, well, it's mole, and mole's brown anyway, so you can figure out where that's going. But, like, he put psychedelic mushrooms in the food, and he shaved a wart on his foot into some of the other food. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, that restaurant got shut down for health code violations, and they outright say that. Like, the restaurant was shut down for health code violations. So the issue is, like, how do you recover from that? Like, and I think that, you know, I guess death is the only way to recover from that. Like, then you don't have to, you know, do that, I guess. I don't know. It feels like the third act, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner on certain things, and they're like, well, how do we get out of this? And the only solution is we gotta kill both characters. Because it feels like a lot. Especially when it's like, it starts out with like, oh, I'm burning these books. Oh, I'm burning this moss that you really care about. Oh, well, I'm gonna lock even the locking the door, locking her in the room, like, until she signs the contract to give him the house. Even that is a step too far. Like, even that is like, we've taken this to a degree that is not it is unhealthy, but it's uncomfortable. And it's like, yeah, you're locking her in a room and playing polka music, so it's meant to be kind of funny, but, like, you're still locking this woman in a room until she signs away the house. And it's just like, I don't know, the whole thing feels kind of odd as you get toward the end. I think that's kind of where it loses a bit. Like, had it stayed cartoony, like, that's kind of the big thing that works with what's that movie, with Home Alone. Like, Home Alone, as the movie goes along, you know, when you get to the third act, it's cartoony violence. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's not meant to look realistic or anything like that. You're not meant to think about, you know, the implications of the guy being smacked in the head with a paint can multiple times. And the minute you think you put characters in a place where you have to think about it, it feels kind of bad, which is why Home Sweet Home Alone, the most recent one on Disney Plus, felt so weird. Is that it's like the burglars are meant to be cartoony. They are one-dimensional. They're here to steal shit, and the good guy's gonna stop them from stealing shit. You can't give a motivation to the burglar and be like, okay, well, the burglar's gonna, you know, break in because they need the money, and this kid stole something from them, so they're going to do that. And then we get to the point that they're outside, and they're begging the kid to stop. Like, that's the thing where it's like, these characters are too sympathetic to be the object of this. It doesn't work. And it's kind of the same thing with, again, Lisa Frankenstein, where it's like, once characters start showing real human emotion and start acting like real humans, it breaks. And that's kind of where this movie is, too. It's like, you can't have... If you're going to do a movie like this, the characters have to be cartoony to an extent. They can't be acting like real humans in this real situation. That's kind of where the movie falls apart. Is that they do act too human. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be at some point we will be doing over this weekend, the long weekend, we'll be doing Caught Stealing, the new Darren Aronofsky movie. I haven't decided what day yet. But we will also be doing, what's the other big movie we're going to be doing? Next week we're continuing with Peacemaker, and we have more movies coming up. We're getting into the slow lull before we get to awards season and the fall movies. But we'll wrap up there for today. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.